Guys, it's Dave again. Welcome back to Dave's Dimension. Welcome back again for another video. Welcome back to the channel where insanity and chaos reigns supreme. So we're back again for a little bit of an update. As you can see, well, the pack got a little bit of color now. Um, the last time if you've been watching our videos for this channel, the last video we did was, well, we did a Back to the Future video, but that's another story. The last part we were working on with the Benofkent, basically, we did the dry fit, got everything together, then we disassembled, broke it down into different bags and sections so I could keep everything sorted. Well, I had the opportunity over the weekend to start the painting process. We painted the motherboard. Motherboard inside and out has 2 coats of flat black. We have a coat of flat black on the shell. However, we started out with aluminum and also silver for the undercoat. So if there are any scratches over time throughout normal wear and tear moving around, that's, the black paint that chips away is going to reveal that silver underneath. So that was the main idea there. And just to show you guys, here is the aluminum I used, Rust-Oleum, the 2-time where it's a paint and a primer at the same time. And what I usually buy is, I especially always try and get the one that bonds to plastic. So especially with the Ghostbuster gear, if you work with the Spirit traps or the Walmart traps, the Walmart PKEs, even if you work with the Ruby stuff, that's the best stuff to use because it's going to adhere and just grip to the plastic much better. Here's the silver that I used. Now, the label's a little different, but it still bonds to plastic, wood, metal, and more. And this is the silver. I still have a bunch of this left. And then I just use regular flat black primer. Okay? I have a full can that's not even used yet. And I love these, by the way. I get these from Amazon, or you can get them at your local hardware store. They just clip right on. And then you got the trigger. It's just like if you have a proper paint gun going back and forth. It's a lot easier on your hand. You have some aiming, some control. Otherwise, you're kind of like, you're fighting with yourself to kind of like hold it in your hand while you're spraying. It just makes it a whole mess. These are much easier. Usually I can get them pretty cheap on Amazon. I'll get a 2-pack. That way you set up one can for one. You can switch the other without having to waste a bunch of minutes trying to take this one off and then put the handle back onto another one. So, in fact, I did a little painting on a little 15-minute break I had today for the booster tube. Now, the pack itself, I did the flat black, and honestly, in some of the pictures and videos I've done, it looks lighter than what it really is. It is black in person. It's just that sometimes some camera settings, lighting settings, make it looks more charcoal than anything else. But I still have another flat black on here. The idea, or at least the original idea, was to do flat black. And honestly, I couldn't find satin black at a lot of stores around here in the Buffalo, New York area. It's a bit odd. Maybe it was just the stores I was going to. I went to a couple of different Walmarts, some Ace Hardware. Just wasn't finding them. Maybe they're out because people have been buying them up. I don't know. With everything going on with 2020, who knows? So I went with the with the semi-gloss because I've used semi-gloss on my previous Neutrona wand build, which was for my Carnivorous Creations wands. And I really liked how this turned out. I mean, these were resin pieces with aluminum pipes, resin gun box here. And I really liked the finish that this came out with. Okay, and this was just semi-gloss. Now, I did the same thing. I did the silver and aluminum undercoat. And then I did a couple coats of the semi-gloss on here. And it really turned out really well, so I like that finish. So that's another reason why I want to take that approach here. Now, one of my teammates made a suggestion to, don't to do flat black on most of the pack, but then do the semi-gloss on a couple different pieces to add a little bit of contrast, but not too much. I mean, if you look at it, the pipe is coming out nice and it's got a little bit of a sheen, but it's not too much. Like, it's not overly. It's like, for example, let's say you get you get new tires for your car. One of the tires, maybe the rim is a little beat up. It's been used on a few cars before, but then all the other ones are brand new rims. That's going to be very noticeable. One is going to stand out much duller than the other ones, and that's what I'm trying to avoid here. So that's what we're trying with this. Now, if it turns out that after I do the pieces, I don't like how it fits, then I'll get some more semi-gloss and I'll just do the whole shell then. That's an option. This way I'm doing it step by step to see how it goes. So the process that we did was the aluminum, then the silver, and then I did one coat, and this is just one coat of flat black on the shell. That's it. I'm going to do another one, maybe even a third. I don't know yet. Depends how well it covers. Now, what I also did was, guys, I did a couple videos as I was painting. So you guys can see what I was doing step by step, what the kind of method was, the method behind this madness. And I'm going to throw those clips in just a few moments. But I mean, everything turned out extremely well. Now, this is just sitting in there, so I'm going to pull that right out. Now, there's some scrapes because I just pulled it out from where it was sitting. But you can see this is a pretty good finish here, guys. Yes, there are a few spots that are... And yes, there are some additional holes here. Ignore those. These are holes for the back side. I had a little accident with something, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, for the most part, this is a pretty good finish. I do have to touch up. This is going to get like maybe 1 or 2 quick passes on it. I mean, I did this on a 15-minute break, nice and quick and easy. We're like in 30-degree weather here in Buffalo, but if you're going out there for a couple minutes, you can still do it. It wasn't windy. Fortune was on my side. So the pack is turning out really well. I can't wait to finish it and get everything humming and rocking here. I mean, potentially speaking, I could have the pack, depending on if everything works out appropriately, I could have the pack running by, I mean, fully assembled, possibly by mid next week, maybe by the next weekend. We'll see what happens. So if you guys will bear with me, we're going to go ahead and jump into those clips so you can see what we were doing, and then I'll come back. Okay, guys, so this is the first coat on the motherboard. I'm actually at a different location. And we're going to do a second coat of flat black on the motherboard. And then, on the other side, I'm going to do a pass along here and a pass along here, because there's some of this will actually be exposed when the shell is on it. So we'll see on the next part. Now, with the shell, before I apply any black to it, we're going to do a primer on it. Even though the paint I'm using is the Rust-Oleum 2 times, we're still going to use a primer on it. Now, as I said before in my previous videos, what we want to do is, in case there's wear and tear, scuffs and scratches over time, to give it a natural weathered look, I'm going to use either the aluminum or the silver primer on here. Now, what I have here, I have the Rust-Oleum aluminum, but I also have the silver. I think I might actually do the silver first. Okay, this is just the 2 times. It's a paint and primer, but we're going to use this as a primer first. I might actually do just a quick pass of the aluminum first and then work on the silver. So we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so I just did a quick pass of the aluminum over the pack. And I'm going to wait for this to dry. It's going to take only a couple minutes here. Now, it could just be how the paint applies on here. But right now, you can kind of see it almost looks a textured look. Now, there's some imperfections, but as you guys have heard me say in previous videos, the imperfections are what make the pack. Because again, these packs were built in a dilapidated firehouse with substandard means. So once this is dry, I may do the silver. Now, as you can see, just in a matter of minutes, the motherboard's almost dry. A few little damp spots. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up the individual pieces and start priming that with the aluminum. Because depending on how this looks, I may not even go with the silver. That's a possibility. So we will see. Okay, so I did the aluminum primer on all the resin pieces. And I've actually started with the silver application. I just sprayed this, so it's still not dry yet. But I think it's looking pretty good. This piece I might add a little bit more. I still have to rotate some of the pieces so I can get full coverage. I did the aluminum on the pack. And I also I did a few passes of silver. It's still, you can see a bit of, I mean, it looks a little graininess, a little silver there, or texture I should say. But now mind you also, I can do a little bit more over here. But of course the black is also going to cover it up too. Now I did do a few passes. You can see here, I mean, I've sanded that. I mean, but like I said before, the rough scratches, the roughness, imperfections, even if they're brought out, it makes the pack look all that more better. Now you can see in some parts it shows up a little more than other, maybe a little bit more caked on. But once this fully dries, I can do a few sand passes, with sandpaper. I got a bunch of sandpaper here, and I will hopefully have a better turnout with it. But of course, this is silver right now. Once I hit it with black, it'll probably fill up. Plus, most of this section here, with the exception of the eyelets of the cyclotrons, certain parts are going to be taped up once I actually do the texture, which I have the Rust-Oleum. So I'm not 100% sure if I'm actually going to do that or not. Now, at a recommendation of a friend of mine, I'm going to try and two-tone this. I'll do flat black for the whole pack, but then we're going to do some of these parts, like the tube and the bumper, and maybe the HGA, are actually going to get a little bit of semi-gloss. Maybe even the little ladder arm there. So we're going to try some semi-gloss to kind of give it kind of a two-tone texture when it comes to black. Hopefully that'll help it pop out a little more. So we'll see what happens. So I'll see you guys in the next part. Okay, so after the silver, I have begun doing just a flat black over the pack. It's still wet. I just literally sprayed it, so you can see that it's still tacky. I'm not touching it just yet. But there we are. Now I just did this one coat right now because I have limited time. I have a bunch of other personal things to go ahead and do. So just was able to do all this in one day so far. I am going to do another pass like here. Now the camera's picking up some light spots here, but of course the paint has to dry first, guys. Now I actually sprayed the inside of the motherboard to give it a more of just a solid look, because I mean otherwise I'm just spraying the outside parts that'll be exposed when it's underneath the pack here, right here and here. So that's what I've done so far. On the recommendation of one of my teammates, I am going to try a semi-gloss on the previous pieces that I sprayed. They're all dry right now, so I'm just storing them in an old toolbox so I can transport them back home. I don't have access to a garage Monday through Friday, so I'm here on a Sunday just getting this done as much as possible, and I'll probably have this concluded next week. So Until that time, I will see you in the next part. Okay, so here we are. The pack is sitting back home here. Now, here's the semi-gloss that I threw on the pipe. I do have to do another pass because obviously there's a few spots that are a little faded right there. So I do need to do another pass. But I have the flat black here with the semi-gloss on that. So I'm planning to keep it right here on the booster tube, possibly on the injector tubes that go right here, and then the two posts, the bumper that goes across, and also on the pipe that comes out that connects into the hose into the gearbox here. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, this is a flat black. On the camera, it makes it look a little like a dark gray charcoal look, but I think that's because of the lights that I have in here along with the settings on my phone. But there's a few spots that do need to have a little bit of touch up, but that's why I still have yet to do another. I gotta do another run here. As you can see, there's some spots here, along here, in here, a little bit down in the crevice, but we're gonna also have stuff coming out of here, so that's gonna detract from some of that. Again, on the sides here, and also up here on the ion arm, we got a few scuffs and scratches from when I transported it back home, but it was still tacky. It wasn't 100% dry. So there she is. Okay, so there's my little clips. What I was doing step by step. Now, I'm by no means a professional prop maker. I know people who are, and they're very talented, and I would never claim to be that. But for my first pack, I think I'm doing pretty well with this. Now, as always, I'm not the only person doing this. I've actually been reaching out heavily with the Benofkent props group, which is a public Facebook group, and also the Ghostbusters How to Build a Proton Pack group. Now, I'm going to leave links for both groups in the description below. I'm also going to leave a link for Benofkent Props, their Etsy page, and also their full website. Now, never hesitate asking for insight, okay? During the painting process, I reached out to several people. I actually did a couple Facebook polls where I was asking satin, semi-gloss, flat black, and honestly, for the most part, a lot of the reactions was split. It was either, there's a lot of people that just do solid flat black, there's a lot of people who do satin, and there's a lot of people who do semi-gloss. So it was pretty even. So that's why we're taking the approach that we're taking right now with it. Now, of course, I'm going to have to put everything back on, of course. Now, there's a few things that I didn't do yet. I didn't drill in the holes for all the various other pieces. The gray legress, the little elbow parts that go in, the brass parts that go in the HGA towards the top. I haven't put in any of those. I haven't pre-drilled those yet. One of my teammates who built a Benofkent prop, this Benofkent pack, I should say, this past spring, he actually recommended the way that he did it. He did his after the fact. So I'm also going to take that approach as well. One thing that definitely came in handy were these little self-threading screws. Or I shouldn't say screws, but drill bits. So as they're drilling through, they have little threads. I don't know if you can really see that there, but there's little threads on the drill bit itself. So as it's drilling, it's also creating a threading effect inside. That helped me tremendously with a lot of parts. So now, in case you're wondering, in case you haven't seen some of the previous videos in regards to this series, I have the Mac factory labels. So after I completely build the pack, everything's functional, that's going to be the very last step, is applying those labels, and I will do a follow-up video with that. After I get everything painted, I am going to do another update video And then we're going to do the actual putting everything in. Once that's done, and I'll show you guys what my setup is going to look like. And I went all GBFANS with this. So GBFANS, cyclotron lights, power cell, and soundboard. And of course I already have GBFANS set up in my neutrino wand here. I'm just knocking stuff off all over the place, guys. Now, in case you're wondering why do I have blue tape around my connector, that's because, well, this is a seamless hose. So I had to kind of get creative with a little piece of wire, and I had to bend this so that it was easy to pull through the hose. At least once I got this part through, because basically this part, this connector right here, does not quite fit into the hole. So what I had to do was I actually kind of did a little folding so that it went like this to fit through the holes. And I had a little piece of thicker like solder wire that obviously wasn't used, and I taped that inside, kind of hooked it, and gently pulled it through the hose to kind of thread it. So that's what I did. But you can see there's some scratches here. These are not on purpose. That's why I did the silver underneath the paint, because you're going to get natural wear and tear like on the edges here. This is not purposed dry. This wasn't like dry brushing, which I've done on a lot of props before. This one I wanted to be very natural, so it's starting to get its own scratches over time. And that's why I'm doing this pack the way I'm doing it. I wanted to get that natural weathering. I could do the weathering myself. I've done it on the Spirit packs before, but I wanted that to be more. I wanted it to be more natural, you know. So there we are. So let me show you some of the other pieces. Now, this is the aluminum with the silver on the bumper. Now, yes, on the inside of this is not perfectly 100%, but you know what? Nobody's going to see that, guys. Nobody's going to see this side of it, so that's perfectly fine. But it came out pretty well, and I can't wait to do the I keep saying satin, I don't have satin. The semi-gloss. We have the injector tubes. They came out, I mean, this came out perfect. At least in my eyes, I think they came out pretty perfect. I can't wait to spray that with the semi. Front part of the booster tube. I sprayed both sides. I mean, even though no one's really going to see this side, I wanted to hit it from all angles possible. So, there's that. Here's the HGA. This came out fantastic. I even threw a little bit of spray on the inside. Not that anyone's going to see it, but I just wanted to do it just for the hell of it. Now, here is the end filter. And one thing I love about Benofkent is they already have the full weld part of the molding here, so you really don't have to do that. Now, I will be applying some full weld around once I place that onto the pack itself. You know, obviously, there's a good part that it isn't going to be perfectly flush, but I have some black hot glue strips that I got from Amazon, actually, and that's going to be perfect for the weld going around. That's going to be perfect for the weld, and I'm going to be good there. I already have a screen mesh for the inside, which I got on Amazon, and I actually sprayed this with a little chrome spray that I had to help with the reflectiveness on the inside. Now, when I do spray the black, how am I going to prevent the black from getting inside? I'm actually going to take some tape, some painter's tape, and cover that up on the inside. That way I'm not going to get that spray in, and it's not going to take away from the chrome and the silver that I sprayed inside already. Okay. Also, here we are. I picked up some cheap flashlights so I can take the reflector out, and that's going to be sitting inside to help. I mean, this is already going to be pretty bright, but it's going to make this brighter now. It might be a little bit overkill, but hey, it's my pack. That's how I'm going about it. And those are the same reflectors that I used on my cyclotron here, guys. On the little cyclotron shelf here. Now, I did do a little bit of hot glue, but I also put a little bit of E6000 adhesive on here. This is not going anywhere, guys. This is not going anywhere. So, that's my method to my madness. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, I did make one mistake. I forgot to paint the bottom of this. This is the part that goes on the side of the booster tube. I got to... That's a quick 2 minutes to spray that. And then hit it with the semi. These posts came out really good. Now, I don't know if you guys recall, I had one that was damaged. I had one that had a hairline crack. Well, not really a hairline crack. It was a pretty solid crack going straight in. Now, I filled that in with some 2-part epoxy. JB Weld. I love this stuff. Like, it dries. This one dries in 15 minutes. They have some versions that do it in 5 or 10 minutes for different purposes. I sanded it down as best as I could without, without doing any damage to the actual epoxy itself. Keeping it as solid as possible. I mean, it turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, guys. You can kind of see, I mean, if you're face to face, you can kind of see, how it has it on there. But you know what? This is going to be turned up. And it's going to be right there, guys. Nobody's really going to be able to view it. Plus, when I hit it with the black, that's going to cover it up even more. So, that is pretty much it. Oh, and by the way, this is the mesh I got. It's just regular screen mesh. Nothing too fantastic. I mean, this fits in the end filter so perfectly, it's not even funny. I mean, hypothetically speaking, I wouldn't even need to, use anything to really hold it in there. I'm probably going to throw a few dabs of adhesive, maybe the E6000 on some of it. But I mean, this is not sliding out. It's got a perfect fit in there. And I mean, that just adds to it. It looks fantastic right there, guys. It's going to have a fantastic look to it. So that's pretty much it right now, guys. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, if you were building a pack, would you have gone with the satin? Would you have gone with the semi-gloss over the entire pack? Or do you want to add a little difference, a little change to it? I mean, potentially speaking, the pack itself, right now it stands as flat black. I still have to touch up a few spots. But if I don't like how it looks, I can still take the semi-gloss and do the entire pack. It's still something I can do. So we're just taking it step by step just to see how I like it. Am I comfortable with it? If I am, then we're moving forward. If not, then we'll take a few different approaches to it. I still don't know if I'm still undecided on texture. I had this Rust-Oleum trick liner spray. I've used that on my spirit pack before. I still have plenty. If I do it, I'm going to be taping up the eyelets of the cyclotron, taping up the spot where the booster tube goes through, the side spot, every part you see like the little square bars that go along. Any place that's also going to have a label is going to be covered up with painter's tape, and then we would take this and hit the entire pack with it. Because you don't want the texture to prevent your labels from sticking. You don't want that texture to maybe cause a tough fit as far as putting your various parts on here. I've heard some pretty horrific stories, and honestly, that first tip about the tape, I actually got that from. It's not an original idea of mine, not by a long shot. I actually first saw it on Punished Props Academy. They did a video where they built their own pack using vacuum forming. But that's one of the tips that they stressed was about taping up the spots, and I love that. big shout out to them. I love their videos. I don't know them. I'm not affiliated with them in any measure of the imagination. I mean, they make everything look so easy when it's not. Um, but definitely, if you're going to build a pack, you definitely want to take a few minutes, maybe watch it a couple times, just to get the gist of what they're doing. There's definitely a lot of takeaways I got from that. One of them is about taping up those portions of the pack that you don't want it done, that you don't want to be covered with the texture. Also, the Facebook groups I mentioned. There's a lot of pictures in the Benofkent group of people who, during their processes, they uploaded pictures of when they taped up their packs. These are free resources, guys, and the people in the Benofkent props group and the how to build a proton pack group, they're the most open and helpful people you're going to find. I mean, these are people like you and me who are building their own packs, building their own props. They're more than happy to help spread that information, to help you out. They're helping you out. They know that you're going to pay it forward and help someone else out, guys. That's what it's about. It's a great community. Just like with everything, you can have your toxic aspects at times. You know, not everyone is a hero, so to speak. Not everyone is going to be, you know, an Egon Spangler, a Peter Venkman, a Ray Stans. You're going to get those Walter Pecks from time to time, guys. You know what I mean. So that's where we are with this. If you have any suggestions about my next few steps going into this, if you have criticisms, do you think the flat black looks good? Do you think it doesn't look good, guys? Drop some comments in the section below and let me know. If you have questions about, you know, what type sandpaper I use, like I was using 150 grit on a lot of this. You know, a lot of this stuff, you know, I'm picking up stuff at Harbor Freight. I will say this. I picked up this Ryobi drill as a recommendation from one of my teammates, Chris Burns, and he, you know, this, I swear I'm sold on Ryobi for life right now. I needed a new drill because my old drill was dying. It was a cheap Harbor Freight, and nothing against Harbor Freight because I love their stuff. It's just that some of the stuff isn't meant to last, you know, 6, 7, 8 years. So, but this thing charges super fast. Battery comes out nice and easy. The drill itself is very lightweight. I mean, it is so lightweight, it's not even funny. You also have a light on here. A light to help illuminate when you're drilling in certain spots, inside and outside. This thing was fantastic. And also the charge, I swear I went on like a day and a half without having to really recharge this thing. It was fantastic. I mean, the controls on here, everything's so lightweight. I'm used to much larger, bulkier drills, and this was fantastic, guys. So much so I even got a Ryobi drill kit to help me with everything. I mean, it's been an amazing process. I can't wait to put everything together. But as always, guys, you know, if you have suggestions, you have comments, positive or negative, that's what it's about, guys. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going in your heads. If there's something now after this pack, I do actually have a Benofkent wand kit in here, so we might be following up with doing a Benofkent wand kit. Now, what I like is a lot of their stuff is already, it's not completely pre-drilled, but it's mostly. I'm imagining that's mostly from a mold that they had where the holes were already done. A little bit of drill here on the sides for the knobs. I should be good now. I'm definitely going to be using a lot of epoxy for some of these pieces. Learning from my mistakes with the Carnivorous Creations. But it looks like I'm going to be building a new wand too. So that's going to be exciting. Not sure exactly when we're going to start that process. But that's probably going to be the next step. The question is, let me ask you guys: should I go with GBFANS for the electronics on that wand kit, or should I go with a different company? What are your go-tos if you're building a wand or if you're building a pack? What are the electronics that you're going with? Me, I don't have a lot of experience with with electrical wiring, so I'm a very plug and play guy. That's why I went with GBFANS. GBFANS.com. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. In fact, what I'll do is I will grab a link for all the electronics that I used in here, including the power cell that I'm going to use as a talent cell power cell. I'll leave a description for that so you guys can see a full list of everything that I threw in there. Now, as far as my kit was kind of hodgepodge from Benofkent. I basically messaged them through their Etsy store, and he worked with me on what I was looking for, what I needed on my pack. What did I want to how did I want to construct it, with what kind of pieces? Did I want all metal? Do I want some of this, some of that? They will work with you. And they are so Johnny on the spot with the responses, it's not even funny, guys. So, until next time, this is Dave from Dave's Dimension saying, if you liked our video, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you can see future videos from us. And like I said, as always, if you like something or if you don't like something, drop a comment in the section below. Reach out to me, guys. Any questions or thoughts you guys have, I'm more than happy to answer. That's what it's about. Anytime you let me know something, that helps improve this channel. Okay? So until next time, keep on busting, and I'll catch you on the flip side.